This is the last video concerning the RDW Congress that took place some days ago in Geneva. I wasn't able to shoot the video while I was in Geneva. It was quite hectic at the very end, but I've saved some content and I would like to share you the very last information about the Congress. So that's quite interesting. I'm shooting this video from home because the first topic I wanted to talk about is homework. There was a really interesting session about homework with various communications from various countries, including the Philippines, Ghana, India, and Nepal. And it was mostly about women working remotely. So we had an independent consultant, Amelita King Dejardin, working in the Philippines, who has been working on digital homework. She told us about the virtual assistant, so people can hire virtual assistants, meaning able to do some secretary tasks remotely through Skype or any numeric application. But the condition in which these kind of tasks are done are quite original. Sometimes the virtual assistant were real people, meaning real people working remotely for other people elsewhere in the world. So these assistants sometimes never see the person for whom they are working, and these person, the employer or so, have some ways to control them through, for instance, the Skype status. It is a way for these people to be under control, and that's pretty much a source of stress for this worker. This is part of the informal sector, because they do not have really good work contracts, and all of these assistants working remotely have probably not a lot of room to negotiate about their salary or their working conditions. Another communication was about Ghana and homework in Ghana. It was mostly in government industry. And a thing that could be interesting is why people do work remotely. There were many reasons for these women to select a work at home. Also to be able to take care about the children, maybe because daycare are not affordable, and also because of the road transportation time that is really long in Ghana, in the population that was studied by the presenter, who was Akosua Darkwah, who is a sociologist from the University of Ghana. And she told that sometimes the transportation time could be up to 4 hours a day. So a lot of women prefer working at home instead of wasting their time in the transportation system. And a last communication was concerning India, and this was performed by Bharti Birla from the ILO. And I was surprised to learn during this Congress that in India, one of the very first business sectors for homeworking is tobacco production. Some women do make hand-rolled cigarettes at home, and I was pretty surprised of that. That was really impressive. A large number of women do work in these working conditions, and I was wondering whether it should minimize the impact of the tobacco industry, because all of this is once again is informal work, so it's pretty much difficult to get reliable data on that. And all of these communications in developing countries were pretty much interesting at the time in which in developed countries we present homeworking or teleworking as a way to cope with psychosocial hazards and psychosocial risks. And it was pretty much interesting to see that in developing countries, the challenge is to reduce the homework because there are no good working conditions, no care at all about occupational hazards at the workplace, and no good working conditions, no minimum wages, whatever. And in developed countries, teleworking could be a way not to be exposed. It is pretty much simple, and we can contest that, but a way not to be exposed to psychosocial risks, to work at home. So it's sometimes presented as a way to improve the working conditions. So this discrepancy between what is happening in developed and developing countries was pretty much interesting. The second point was the book launch that was provided on Wednesday. The author, Carl Benedict FREY, presented his famous book, The Technology Trap, Capital, Labor and Power in the Age of Automation. And so this was once again about the future of work. This was pretty much the big topic of this conference. This book is the one who provided the famous 47% of jobs to be automatized. Sorry for that. The author, Carl Benedict FREY, provided some clarification about that. It does not say that 47% of jobs will be in the automation, but there could be automation for this 47% of jobs. So he presented an interesting map between the association on the spread of automation within the US and votes for Trump. And the two maps were pretty much the same. That was pretty much interesting. And after the presentation of the book, there was a panel, a discussion between people from the University of Lausanne and a discussant from the ILO, Janine Berg, who was really interesting because she was really critical. She said that in this book there was a lack of vision about the role of unions, about all of the social features of all that, low wages, and she also reminded us that technology is not self-generated, it's also provided by humans, and we do have control on all that, and how could we improve that? And all in all, after all of these days in this conference, it was pretty much interesting that I find there is a bit of confusion about the concept of work and employment, and it is not the same. When we're talking about employment, we are talking about the macro level, employment rates, rates of different working contracts, and so on. When we're talking about work, we're talking about the precise relation between oneself and its activity, the real activity, the practical troubles it has to work on a precise task and whatever. And when people do say they are talking about the future of work, they don't. At the very best, they are talking about the future of job market. They are talking about the future of employment, but they are not talking about the future of work, meaning will there be any evolution, changes in the way people will face their practical tasks at the workplace in the future? And there was nothing specific about that. I don't have any clue about that. I don't have any idea as to there will be some modifications about this very specific relationship one person engaged in this activity will have. I don't know. But, well, it's important to have in mind that we're not talking about the same when we're talking about employment, job market, and work. That there is a degree of different levels of interest on all that. And finally, we had a symposium during this Congress about psychosocial risks. We were 4 presenters. So there were Maureen Dollard and Tessa Bailey from the University of South Australia. Michael Ertel from the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Organization in Germany kindly took over the communication of Stavroula Leka and Aditya Jain, who were not able to join us, unfortunately. So all of this stuff, I dealt with this stuff in some previous videos. I have been talking about data provided by the French Network on Occupational Diseases and the French National Insurance System on the compensation of work-related mental diseases and injuries. Maureen Dollard and Tessa Bailey dealt with the psychosocial safety climate and some interesting data on that. And Tessa has been saying something quite interesting during her presentation. She said that she had a recent study, I don't know who performed the study, and I need to check, about coping and resilience. And she said that there were new data showing that when we ask people to have more and more resilience, it generates more and more burnout and diabetes. So I need to check this publication. I don't have this, and I need to ask Tessa for that. But it's quite interesting to have this in mind. And Michael Ertel, about the work of Stavroula Leka and Aditya Jain, were about policies and some ways to evaluate policies about prevention of psychosocial hazards at the workplace. Well, this is pretty much all I wanted to say about this Congress. So I look forward to doing some more videos about upcoming congresses in the field of occupational health and safety, and I wish you a nice day.